Well, it means a huge amount to all the team and to the Jacobs family, who obviously own the stud. We've been acknowledged for breeding nice horses in the past by the TBA, but to win the TBA Silver Rose Bowl is a big deal, you know, and to have it acknowledged by the TBA and our peers and things means an awful amount, awful big amount. Thank you. Yeah, well, NEWSELLS was purchased by Klaus Jacobs in 2000 and is owned by the Jacobs Holdings, which is the Jacobs family company. And it was his dream to bring the stud back up to its former glories when it was owned by Sir Humphrey de Trafford through most of the 20th century. And his family had owned a stud farm, very successful stud farm in Germany called Gestüt Verhof since the 1960s, and that had been very successful. So it was his dream to redevelop the farm. And it came back to its original name of NEWSELLS Park, and so we've been, you could argue, in existence for nearly 100 years, but under its current guise for 20. And we've gradually developed the farm and matured the land a little bit, because a lot of the land, especially on this side where we're standing now, was arable land 20 years ago, and developed the pedigrees and the mares and everything else, which has culminated in some of the successes we're having now, which is great to see. Yeah, we're lucky enough to have a nice broodmare band of just over 50 mares, and they're supplemented by some lovely mares belonging to clients. We've got some wonderful clients here on the farm who allow us to look after their horses, which is a great privilege. And of our own mares, obviously 2 or 3 that stand out would be Shasti, who's been wonderful for NEWSELLS in all respects, in terms of breeding group winners, but also in terms of, for a commercial operation like us, breeding valuable yearlings for the sales. Vald Lurker, she's been great. It's a family that Mr. Jacobs developed. Well, he bought the foal, her grandmother, back in 2000 as a foal, the Mark of Esteem mare, Valdmark. I bought her as a foal, raced her with Sir Michael Stout. Her daughter, Vald Lurker, we retained and owned in partnership with a gentleman called Dietrich von Bottischer, Gestüt Ameland. And that's obviously brought dividends with Waldgeist, who obviously won 4 Group 1s, culminating in the Arc last year. So she's a pretty special mare for us, and it's a family that we're trying to develop further here. And then there's, of course, mares like Yummy Mummy, who's a Mangeur mare, who bred Legatissimo, who was the Cartier Champion 3-year-old a few years ago. So she's a special mare for us. And hopefully we've got some daughters of those mares and other mares that we're hoping will click in the next few years, but yeah, lucky to have some very nice mares. Thinking ahead this year, we've got a very nice 2-year-old with a trainer called Paddy Toomey in Ireland, who we didn't sell at Goffs UK last August. He's called Arctician, and he's been group placed twice. He's having a bit of a break now, but we'll hopefully bring him back for the autumn. He could be a fun horse, and we'll hopefully go on and win a group race. We'd like to see that happen. Well, we're very proud of Nathaniel. You know, to produce a horse like Enable with your first crop is pretty special. Of course, it can't be done without the support of great breeders, and they don't come much better than Judmont Farms. So we're very grateful to them. They're also shareholders in Nathaniel, as are a number of top-class breeders from around Europe, and indeed a couple of top-class breeders in America, I should say. So having the support of breeders obviously makes all the difference to a stallion, but having a horse like Nathaniel is very special. The Jacobs family and the German history and heritage is all about middle distance horses. If you asked a German breeder which race he'd like to win most, he'd probably say the German Derby. After that, he'd probably say the Arc, but proper middle distance mile-and-a-half races. So having a horse like Nathaniel, who himself was a top-class mile-and-a-quarter, mile-and-a-half horse, who produces top-class mile-and-a-quarter, mile-and-a-half horses, is in our DNA, if you like. And to have a horse like Nathaniel, who's produced arguably one of the best fillies there's ever been, is a great privilege and very exciting for us. It's not very often that you have a runner, a homebred running in the Arc, and another horse like Enable, who's bidding to make history, winning it 3 times in a row, and she happens to be by your stallion. So if I wasn't going to go to the Arc last year, I probably never was. It was great to be there, privileged to be there with the trainer and the jockey, and looking at Valgeist And yeah, of course the best result was for Weatherbys to win, because he's a homebred, and we owned a part of him. But I just didn't really expect it. I think probably that was human nature, just trying to not get too excited about the possibility. And I was probably between the 2 furlong and 1 furlong mark, where we were watching from, not from the main grandstand, and this sort of red streak was coming past them all at that point, and I was thinking, my God. And then I looked at Georgia after the race. I said, did we just win the Arc? I think we were more dumbfounded. I mean, he thoroughly deserved it. You know, he's such a good, consistent horse. And I know the jockey, after he won on the track a few weeks before in the prep race for the Arc, was very, very bullish about his chances. And he was proved right. Hey, it's a horse race, and there were bad luck stories and there were good luck stories, but that's horse racing, and we'll take that all day long. So it was an amazing day, really amazing day, and it was quite emotional, because that horse comes from the W family, which was really important for Mr. Jacobs. As I say, going back to the Grand Dam, Waldmark, he bought that as a foal. It was the only way he could get into the W family. The breeders were kind enough to let him have a filly foal, and she started it off. So we haven't been around long enough to breed generations of families yet, but to be able to, this is 3rd generation, is exciting for us. And you know, to be able to do that, you feel a little bit more like a proper breeder, if you know what I mean, by having developed the foal, reared the foal, raced it, then produced the dam, then produced Weatherbys. So we feel like we maybe are deserving to be called proper breeders by breeding a horse like Weatherbys. And so it was very special. And if you told me, you know, when I joined NEWSELLS 12, 13 years ago, 14 years ago, that we'd be breeding the winner of the Arc, I'd have pinched myself. And I know it would have meant a huge amount for Klaus Jacobs. As I said, German heritage, all about 1.5 mile races. They don't come any better than the Arc. So I think it would have meant a lot to him. And he's a very important person within the history of NEWSELLS. Obviously he bought it, but he died 12 years ago. But his presence and memories felt very, very much by the team here. So that was a big day for everybody. So it was very special, very special. But it was back on the plane and thinking about yearlings to sell the next day, I have to say.